Okay, welcome. Wow, we got a ton of people signing on, so thank you. And welcome, everyone. Good morning. We have a wonderful guest today, Patrick McNichol, and he's going to be talking about the senior move and how to make that kind of simple for everyone. Those on the call, we have people from all over the United States here. Again, most of the people are right in this market area, and I think we're going to ask Patrick at some point your service area because that's going to be important for those on the call. But generally, Patrick, we find most of the people are kind of Delaware, New Jersey, Pennsylvania,
Sure.
and those listening that are outside of the market area usually have somebody in this area
Sure.
that they're trying to help. A little bit about who I am and what I do. So I'm a real estate broker. This is my 30, I'm coming into my 39th year in the industry, and I focus primarily on senior housing. So most of what I get involved in, because I've been doing this so long, are clients that are generally selling a home and generally are looking at assisted living, senior housing, memory care, all those various options, CCRCs. So this whole series came as a result of trying to educate and explain to our audience that we try to tell people to be proactive and not reactive. So plan well in advance. So I've written a couple books. In fact, I'm working on another one right now. And I do a lot of public speaking. And then on the call, I have some of my other team members, Brent, Samantha, and Michelle, listening as well. So I just wanted to welcome everybody and tell you a little bit about who I am. So our guest, Patrick McNichol, he's the owner of Mainline Junk Removal. He's co-founder of Suburban Solutions Moving. You were born locally, uh, and I'd like to welcome Patrick. I want to speak from personal experience that you've helped some of my clients who were going to assisted living, and you just made everything so easy, so smooth, so calm that I really appreciate how you work with people. So, Patrick, could you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got
Of
into the
course.
business and all?
That's not my picture, but it kind of looks like me, but I'll
Oh,
take it.
geez.
But I think it is kind of looking like me. So you can put that back. It's fine.
Okay.
It'll
Okay.
help explain everything. So my name is
Okay.
Patrick. I'm from Westchester, so I was born and raised in the area. I started my career at Ryan Homes in the home building world, and then as a project manager, then I went to Boeing as a project manager there. So I have a background in how to plan and coordinate. In 2014, I think it was, we started Suburban Solutions. I had a couple partners at the time. When COVID started, it was down to just me. I bought my partners out. We realized that there was a big boom in the downsizing world. So we started to kind of round out our services, excuse me. We started doing a lot more junk removal and donation drop-offs. We started doing a lot more packing because when we realized in the downsizing world, it's not just moving from one home to another. There's a lot of logistics. So that's where my background really started to kick in there. We need to help with packing. We need to help with some coordination. We want to get things to donation that you don't want anymore, that you can't fit in your new home because you might be downsizing. Some things, unfortunately, just have to go to the junkyard. We can take care of that as well. A lot of things go to friends or families' homes too. So there's a lot of moving parts aside from just going into your new community or home. So we pride ourselves on the ability to plan that efficiently for our clients, but also in a relaxed manner. It's a stressful situation for a lot of people you might have been in your home for 30, 40, 50 years. That's a lot of memories that go along with the tangible furniture. So we don't rush, right? So we want to make sure we're taking our time and going at a pace that you, as our client, would be comfortable with. Doesn't matter how long it takes us, as long as you're in a good position. It's stressful, right? So our job is to make it an enjoyable experience. And that goes from the first time you talk to us on the phone till we meet you in person, and then through the entire moving process.
Let me ask you maybe a follow-up is about, and this is kind of like what I get all the time is from my clients, and when should they, plan? Because this whole workshop, we work on the, proactive, right? Planning well in advance.
Sure.
In your world, in your industry, how much time do you need and when should they start thinking about this?
In the best case scenario, when Brett, when you start talking to your clients about listing a home, is when we want to be involved. There's no time, it's never too early. There is such a thing as too late. And we often get requests, especially in the summertime. Someone might be moving a 4 or 5 bedroom home and I ask if they can move on Tuesday. And we're like, hey, unfortunately, our schedule is pretty full, 3, 4, 5 weeks out. When it comes to downsizing, we want to get involved as early as we can because we want to make sure that we're getting all the steps that you might need. And it doesn't have to be all at once. We might come in for our first meeting and see that we need to do some decluttering and just some organizing. Or maybe there's some things we need to get rid of early on, and then we'll come back again a couple weeks later to do the packing and the moving. So there's no one size fits all. That's the beauty about our team is being able to customize a plan for you, but we'd like to start as early as possible.
So tell me a little bit about like your clientele in terms of who you mentioned you're more in the senior. What happens if you're, a college student that's moving from, college to home, and how do you
Sure.
handle out of state? Is that in your world?
Absolutely. So as long as you start or end in our area, then we can service you and your clients. So most of our moves are within the greater Philadelphia area, including South Jersey and Northern Delaware. But we've done moves into the Fountain View, for example, in Philadelphia from North Carolina. So we call that a reverse commute. So we can go get you if you're out of state, if you have an out of state buyer, for example, and they're moving into the area from somewhere else, we can handle that for you. Same goes the other way. So if you live in Westchester and you're moving to Michigan, we can handle that too. As long as your starting or ending point is in the greater Philadelphia area, we can service.
And what about like how much time does it take when you're actually at the property doing the move and packing? Is, the packing process, is it, a week before the actual move takes place, or how do you sequence all these events? Because there's so many moving parts
Of
to this
course.
whole process. How
The,
do you
sh
handle that for your clients?
the short answer is it depends. The long answer is it can be as little as one day if it's a smaller, if you're moving from one community to another, for example, you're already in independent living and you're going to assisted living. That typically we can pack a move in the same day. If you're coming from a 3,500 square foot house to an independent living facility, that is going to take a couple extra days. Best case scenario is we pack on day one and move you on day two. But as I mentioned earlier, just speed isn't the name of the game. It's a calm and steady pace. So we might pack in over 2 or 3 days, with a smaller crew to make sure that it's going nice and smoothly. So long story short, it depends, but every situation is a little bit different.
Okay. And then in your crew, you mentioned the crew is how large of a crew do you have, and trucks and capacity, and what happens in, I have these situations sometimes where there are these bridges, and we have these estate homes where the driveway's super narrow and you can't get the tractor
Mhm.
trailer down it and all. How do you handle the idiosyncrasies of the main line, I would call it?
So yeah, I mean the main line exactly. So the train tracks on along Route 30 are a challenge, but we know where there's a couple of streets where it's not a tunnel under the train, it's a bridge over top. So we kind of know the area at that point. In Villanova, there's one senior. It's a it's a 55 plus community. It's not a CRE, CRCC or anything like that, but can't remember the name. Rosemont, I think.
Yes.
We know that there's a couple of ways that we can't go. So we kind of just know that at this point. Does it take a little bit longer to get from A to B? Sure, but we have all box trucks, like a U-Haul style truck, which makes it a little bit more convenient on the long driveways that you mentioned. But we have smaller trucks that can get up and down pretty steep driveways or narrow driveways pretty easily. So our customer service process will look into the stops at each the pickup and drop off, and we'll determine if we need any special considerations to make sure that we're planning ahead. We don't like to go backwards. I don't want to show up on a move and have to backtrack and figure out a plan. We like to be proactive and know what we're getting ourselves into.
And do you find that in most situations, is there the tractor trail? It's the box truck with the tractor trailers kind of in sequence, or does it really, I guess,
We don't
depends
use any
on?
tractor trailers. And those would only be for like interstate moves, like across the country for really big homes. We don't operate anything with tractor trailers. And if anything, most senior downsizing moves require just one box truck. If it's a large move where they're doing a lot of secondary moves, then we can always bring a second box truck. We have seven total box trucks, four dump trucks, and a couple of
Whoa,
minivans for smaller items too.
the dump trucks. That's interesting. So tell me a little bit about the dump trucks, how that all works.
Yeah, of course. So in 2020, we started a sister company called Mainline Junk Removal because we
Okay.
realized that, almost every client has something that they need to get rid of.
Yes.
So, and Brett, in your world, I'm sure you've seen when you have a buyer that's moving into a home, they show up at the new home, and there's stuff in the basement or the garage that the seller just left behind, right?
Yes.
So we started Mainline Junk Removal, our sister company, to do more pure junk removal and donation jobs. So we can come in before the house even gets listed, so we can help declutter and store items or discard of them or donate them to make sure that the home lists and shows really well in that phase, especially now when things are getting a little bit more competitive.
You have a good segue into my next slide, which is about how we operate this home concierge service. And the concept is because I have so many seller clients that have different needs with, downsizing, right? I have some that I get contacted by out of state family members and they're moving mom or dad into memory care and they, fly in, hand me the keys and say, okay, handle everything, right? Like figure out where my stuff's going to go, help me with the move, clean the house, take down the trees, do all that. So we put together this concierge that's available for all the clients, everyone on the call. And if you ever need help and you need somebody, this is a free service we offer, and we try to link with the best possible person. So in the move category, Patrick's been really good for our clients moving to some assisted living communities we've used, and he's done a phenomenal, phenomenal job. So anyone on the call, if there's people or things you need, certainly keep us in mind. We're happy to help any way we can to, facilitate that. So the furniture, the collectibles, and all that. So that's kind of in my concierge. I've been involved in a lot of that process. Tell me, what about when we have, family members that, one, the China chest and one, there's multiple steps in that move, right? Because it's also the downsizing, but then the family members want things. How does that all get coordinated into the process?
Just wanted to check. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens a lot, and we're used to that. So what we'll do is, in our consultation period, right on in the beginning, whether it's on the phone or in person
Okay.
or email, we'll talk to you about, hey, is there anything that you're not taking with you that needs to go somewhere else? It's pretty common for us to have one pickup location and two, three, four drop-off locations because we're going to Sally's house and Timmy's house to drop off, like you mentioned, the china cabinet. We might be going to Goodwill or Habitat for Humanity for some donation drop-offs. It's you name it, we can plan for it. And then if we can do it in the same day, great. If we need an extra day of planning for some of the secondary logistics, we'll take all that into consideration.
And tell us a little bit about how, how the whole process works with the coordination and the packing. Is that something that all moves you're involved in, or is that more of a minority, meaning most of the clients do their own packing? What do you see out there in moving right
Yeah.
now with that?
I'd say in the senior downsizing world, it's about 50-50.
50-50?
Yeah, and we have people that pack internally on our team, and we also use some specialists as well. If you need that extra level of coordination where you want a floor plan at your new location and you want to help determining what you want to take and what you don't, we bring in a partner for that. It's all under one roof. You don't have to talk to multiple people. There's no multiple invoices. We keep it very streamlined and simple, but we just want to make sure we have all of the experts that you might need in the process.
Yeah, the floor
And that
planning,
goes
that's
for
huge
unpacking.
as well.
Yeah,
Same thing.
exactly. It's unpacking. People think packing's the hard part, but sometimes unpacking's even harder because you don't know where everything is going to go. Like you've lived with the cups in the left cupboard and the plates in the right drawer for forever, but when you move to a new place, it's all new. So we have that same level of coordination that we can offer on the unpacking side as well.
And how about in the world of like, you mentioned a little bit about the junk part of it, but t talk to us a little bit about the donation side.
Sure.
How do you get involved in that part of the process?
Yep. So again, it's all about the consultation. We'll take an inventory, if you will, of what your situation is. If you want us to try to liquidate and sell some things, we can help coordinate that. And we work with some partners in the estate sale world where they can of various levels. Everybody has different levels of belongings. There's certain vendors that specialize in each level of that. So we'll try to match you up with that. That's just a service that we kind of connect you with. It's not a profit center for us. So we just will tell you who makes sense. We'll connect you guys and then they'll take it from there. So that's the step one. If you want to make some money for what you have. Then it's donations. And then if anything left
Okay.
over, we'll first try to donate. So depending on where you are or what you have, we'll figure out what makes the most sense. There's places all across the area. I forget the name of the place. The Community Warehouse Project in Westchester is a great spot. There's Goodwills, there's Habitat for Humanities. There's all kind of, eventually we want to start our own secondhand store where we can sell things at a below market value and get our nonprofit status. So we can do that all in-house and you can get your tax credits for that as well. That's probably a
Smart.
year or two down the road. But that way we can take everything and then we'll manage getting things sold to people. A lot of stuff is really good and it doesn't deserve to go to the junkyard, right? So we want to give people who could really benefit from secondhand furniture because they might not be able to afford something brand new. We want to give that furniture a second chance and that family another opportunity too. So that's donations is step two. And then whatever's left over, we'll just take to the junkyard and get rid of it.
And Patrick, I also get a lot of times I have what I call like a timing challenge, meaning we're selling a property and we have a certain settlement date, yet the new community, whether we're going to assisted living or we're going to a resale home, we can't settle on that for another month or two. So there's this overlap, and we need to get the client stuff out of the house. You mentioned something about storage. Could you talk to us? Is that something you're actively involved in, or is
Oh
it?
yeah. We in September we opened up a storage center in Conshohocken, Pennsylvania. It's a 16,000 square foot warehouse. So we can store items overnight, a week, a month, a year. It doesn't matter. As long as we know what your plan is, we can coordinate that for you as well.
Okay, and how about some of my clients that have, pianos and things like certain valuable art? Is there a limitation on what you want to handle in the move process, or can you handle the piano and the artwork and all that as well?
Nope, we can handle all that. If there's something that needs to be broken down, like gym equipment, for example, or then we have a partner that will help us break things down. Well, we can move all of it. Grand pianos, sometimes we'll outsource that to a piano specialist. But again, we coordinate everything. It's all one bill, one invoice. That way it's a little bit simpler for the client. And we'll handle all the logistics.
And is it on the actual uh, the intake, who actually from your firm will meet with the client when it's time to think about the move? Who's
Sure.
involved in that process?
There's a couple of options there. We do whatever is most convenient for the client. We can do this all on the phone with our sales team. We have an estimator who does virtual estimates. He lives in Tennessee, actually. He's one of our first movers. He started with us in the summer of 2014. He's now our head of sales. We do on-site estimates as well, which is very popular for the senior community. They want to meet us in person, so we want to go
Okay.
see everything. So whatever's the preference of our client is what we'll set up.
I like the idea of the virtual person. That's very interesting.
Yeah, it's a real person. It's just an online video call that we can coordinate. Sometimes it's more convenient because people don't want to see you in the house. It is, and then there's also I forgot one option for the tech savvy people. We can send you a text message with a link. You click on that link and it brings you to a recording, and you can just walk through your home and narrate through what you have, and just tell us, hey, I want to take this desk and I want to get rid of this chair and just talk us through the video, and we can handle everything that way as well.
Oh, I gotta love that. That's great from a
That
tech
feeds right
person.
into our software system
Okay.
so it's really convenient for everybody.
Yeah, I gotta love that because I'm a definite techie. So anything that's techie like that,
It's
um,
really cool. It's very seamless. The video saves. It doesn't stick on your phone or your computer. It's just in the cloud, and everybody on our team can see it. So when the movers, they can view the video too, so they know exactly what they're getting into. They can be fully prepared.
and what could you say for our people on the call? We have all in all various size and shapes in terms of, many of the people on the call, if I just look down at our call list, I'd say many of them are, in a 3 or 4 bedroom, home. Is there anything you could say with regard to cost? Is weight the weight of the factor? Does the staying in state versus going out of state, and how does that play into the overall picture of what they would expect for a move cost?
That's a great question. So I'll start with the local moves because that's a little bit more standardized. So let's say you're moving a 3 or 4 bedroom home into also a 3 or 4 bedroom, or would it be into a 1 or 2 bedroom?
Both scenarios. I see people. Most of the people on the call, I think, are going to be going from large to what we call right sizing, right, to something a little bit smaller.
Sure. So I guess I could say on average, it's about 750 to $1,000 per bedroom
Okay.
of where you're moving into. So think about it the way you're moving into. Because if you live in a 4 bedroom home, but you're moving into a 2 bedroom home, a lot of the stuff is probably sticking or staying put. So if you use that rough $1,000 estimate, to 2 bedroom would be $2,000, probably a little bit less than that. But that's a general rule of thumb, 750 to $1,000 per bedroom. That's
And
not
how?
including the packing.
Okay. And what about in the move process? What happens in the world of like uh, content to insurance? Is it something that you cover the insurance if the client needs to get any special insurance, and how does that all work?
Sure, it's a great question. So by state law, where you're covered for it's called replacement value or replacement value. It's 60 cents per pound, which is not a
Okay.
great coverage. So if your TV weighs 100 pounds, you're only getting $60 if that is damaged. So that's not the best coverage that one can have. So there's what we call additional evaluation is available. So it's similar in concept to insurance. I can't legally sell insurance. I'm not a licensed insurance broker, but in the moving industry, it's called valuation. And that's priced based on the deductible that you'd like. So we have a 0, 250, and $500 deductible option. And then it's based on the level of coverage that you want and then how much value there is to your shipment or your move. So it's a couple $100 to get full replacement value or repair value insurance, where everything is covered to the top.
And how many people would typically, if it's a 4 bedroom when there's a lot of downsizing taking place, how many total people would be typical for one of your moves to someone going to a 2 bedroom assisted living?
So a 4 bedroom to 2 bedroom probably would be 5 or 6 people.
And do you see much, Patrick, where you're moving people from here to, south? Is that common? Because I've seen a lot of that with my clients. I see either they're staying locally or they have family in a certain area and they migrate
Mhm.
to that, or I've had a lot of people head south just for
Yeah,
comfort.
absolutely. Well, I mean, after this winter, I think
Yeah,
everybody wishes they were lived in
I'm thinking
Florida.
myself.
Yeah, right. That's exactly yeah, we do that. We see that a lot. So we offer what's called a dedicated shipment. There's
Hmm.
two options in the world of long distance or interstate moves. There's your big van lines, like those Atlas trucks, those big, 53-foot long trailers. And then there's what we call a dedicated shipment. So our costs are a little bit higher for those out of state moves. And the reason for that is because when we go to your home to load everything up, our driver is going to leave your house and most likely head right to Florida. Let's use for an example. Um, so it's a dedicated load. We're not sharing that truck with anybody else. It's you and that's it. And it's a direct shipment. So we go from A to B without any stops in between. The van lines, they're cheaper than we are. And the reason for that is because they're probably going to share that truckload with a couple other clients.
Hmm.
So they might go from Chester Springs over to Ohio to pick someone else up, down to Virginia, and then someone might come off and on that truck between your house and Florida. So what that means is two things. One, it's going to take a little bit longer. So if you don't mind getting your things a week or two after we could deliver, then that's a great option. The biggest risk is the commingling of items. It's not a guarantee that something's going to get lost in the shuffle, but it is a possibility that your items might go to someone else's house by accident. I'm not saying
Okay.
that's going to happen, but it is a risk where we wouldn't have that risk. So it's really a matter of convenience factor and cost, whichever is more important to you. And I walk everybody through those options. I'm not here to badmouth the van lines, and we work with a couple of them, and we can certainly recommend if our cost is too expensive, I'm going to try to find a better fit for you.
So does that mean, Patrick, on the flip side, if you're moving somebody here from Florida, do you have the ability then to pick up somebody from Florida heading back to Pennsylvania, or that's not in your,
No, yeah, we do it all the
you
time. I
do?
think
Okay.
the most recent example I can remember is Florida, actually. So we had an out-of-state buyer for a local real estate company that moves. They're moving to Ardmore, I believe, and we went down and we picked them up in Florida and drove them back up here. Unloaded 2 or 3 days later, and then we've done it to from North Carolina. We've done it from Ohio, from Pittsburgh. Yeah, it happens. It's not as common, but we see it a lot because our network of real estate agents in this area
Is big.
has out-of-state buyers. So we don't. So if they'll let us know if they, hey, can you help us with this? And if it makes sense for us, absolutely, we'd love to help you out. And if we can't do it, we'll try to find some. I have a network of moving companies across the country that I can always try to find a good fit for someone.
And Patrick, what about how do you handle, especially for your out-of-state people, when somebody in the family they have multiple vehicles? Do you get involved in the auto shipment? Is that part of your process, or is that an outsourced piece?
That's one piece where we don't really get involved. If I had to find a loophole, Brett, this is it. The world of car shipments is tricky. It's all based on brokerages, so it's hard to contract. Tom, the car transport guy, they have what's called like a load board. It's an online message board that is just people shipping cars across the U.S. Because we offer a dedicated shipment, we don't like to get involved with things we can't control. And because car shipments typically come with a 2 or 3 day window of pickup and drop off,
Yeah.
if I'm going to leave your house on March 15th and I know that car can go on that same day, I don't want to take responsibility for that because I can't control that. So we can make some recommendations, but we don't get involved in car shipments.
And I think you're smart because I've seen that with some of my clients with the scheduling and the delivery of the vehicle. There's sometimes a lag effect because
Always.
the first person that said they were going to get on one of these boards and move the vehicle, doesn't show on that particular date, and then they need to hire a next person, and then, it just adds more time to that
Yeah.
process.
We haven't um officially offered this yet, but we do have a partner we've tested out on a couple different moves, and they're nationally known. They have locations all over. They do car transports. We've used them now twice on small cross-country shipments. So it might be something that we can better coordinate because they are reliable and I trust them. Their name is Plycon, Plycon. Um, and I'm just not ready to share with them yet.
Okay. And those on the call, just I'm reminding everyone, we have a huge number of attendees. I haven't gotten any questions that there, but there is a chat function if you want to send any questions to Patrick. And certainly, Patrick, you said you're available, after the message, but after the seminar today. But they should note that in the chat, Patrick put his email and website. Is that the best way to does it pretty much start on your website? Is that people would go to suburbansolutions.com? Is that what you would typically have people
Yeah, I mean,
do?
again, we try to make it as easy for everybody. If you want to call me, you can do that. If you want to email me, you can do that. And filling out a form online gets you directly to
Okay.
the sales team as well. I just added my cell phone number too.
Okay. Perfect timing for segue because I was going to ask you that um, uh, for your the best telephone number to reach you. Um, so what happens, Patrick, I also get some last minute surprises where, you know, things happen and all of a sudden people need to move. And, in my world, I see a lot of, I see unfortunately some reactive situations, right, where people think they can age in their house and stay forever, and something ultimately happens, and then they have to scramble and move quickly. How do you work in that kind of environment? Is that something, with a week notice they would be okay, or is it just it's going to be tough?
So I heard this from a partner of mine or a colleague of mine. He works out in the West Coast. He said, "I'm not in the business of saying no." So
Yeah.
his view is, "Hey, I'm going to try to find a way. If we can make things work for you, we will. If we can't, no, I'll try to find someone who might be able to fit in their schedule. But we do have limits to what we can handle. But our job is to try to find a way."
Okay. Good. That's a great answer. And I wanted to know that oh, that was the slide was what was your takeaway, would you say, as your most important step that could take towards the move that you'd recommend for people?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I'd say the number one thing is to know that we've got you covered. There's nothing that we can't handle for you. And planning early is always the smartest option. If we can get in touch with you early, even if you don't know where you're going, but you're selling your home, get us involved right away because we can always add the details of where you're headed next later on. But we want to get you on our schedule or get you in our system as soon as we can.
Can you share maybe I was just any memorable stories of you helped a family through any really challenging or difficult situations?
Yeah, when we unfortunately have done it a couple times in the senior world, you do hear some sadder stories. And we moved a couple from one senior independent living facility. They each had their own units. We moved them from one to the other. They didn't like that one, so we moved them back to another. And then unfortunately, the husband passed away, so we had to get rid of all of his stuff. And then we moved the mother the wife again. So within 6 months, we moved this family four times, I think.
God.
And we're happy to do that. And the son was out of state. He was the one that we were coordinating him with. So, we see that a lot. The adult children are coordinating the moves, and that's not a problem for us. We can help do that all the time. He was in North Carolina, and this family was in Philadelphia. Um, yeah, there's nothing that we can't handle, and we'll always work with you guys. And Brett, one option we do have too is if your clients are selling the home, we can defer the payment until settlement, and get paid through the settlement office, the title company.
That's very good. I like that idea.
That just comes with a deposit, like any other move. But then, I'll talk to you about, hey, when do you think settlement is, and we'll work on what the financial side of it is.
Yeah, because a lot of times we do have some situations where they're, short on cash for certain
But they
different
probably have
things.
equity in their home,
Yeah, tons of equity and whatnot.
And then the tip I like to offer too, if you are packing yourself, which is great, don't get me wrong, get good boxes. We recommend U-Haul. U-Haul.com will deliver boxes right to your doorstep, and they'll buy back anything that you don't use. And if you are packing, just pack 2 or 3 boxes a day, as early as you can start. Start with the things that you don't need or your seasonal clothes. 2 or 3 a day is a very easy number to manage, and then you're not going to get stressed out because you have 48 hours to make 50 boxes up. That's my
And
number one tip, I would say, when it comes to moving is pack early and just pack small.
how about like organizationally, anything you'd recommend to those on the call that want to, is it a Word document? Is it color coding the boxes? Is there any technology you'd recommend just to help them so that the box that comes from their living room ends up back in the living room of their next
Yeah, I mean,
house?
labeling is great, right? So label the box on the front of the box more so than on the top. Again, that's not going to be make or break anything, but labeling the boxes is really important. That helps us coordinate when we're at the unload. We know exactly where to put that box. So we're not having to ask the client, hey, where does this go? We don't have to open the box and look because that delays the job. It takes a lot longer. So labeling is really important. You don't color coding is helpful too, but not necessary. But if we have a lot of clients that do that, red sticker means kitchen, blue sticker means master bedroom, and so on. That certainly makes life easier. And we love that, but that's not for everybody. So as long as it's at least labeled, then we're in good shape.
And do you generally find that you need somebody on the receiving end to help with distribution to figure out, where things are to go? Or is that no longer necessary with good labeling and a good system? Um,
No, we're always going to want somebody on both sides of the move.
okay.
Because let's use the bed, for example. We might know that it's for the master bedroom, but if I might put it on the west wall and you want it on the north wall, that's not something that I can decide for you.
So to have someone there. I was thinking too with the floor planning, because some of the communities that I work with have like the floor planning
Yes.
service
Shannon,
for.
I think, offers it free, I believe.
Yeah, and I do it for all my home sellers. I have a floor plan that I make for every single house, and in that they can also add their furniture to it, and then they can X things that they don't want to move to their next house, which makes it a lot easier to figure out
That's
what
awesome.
they need. Because typically what we find is that the content in most houses doesn't all get moved to the next house, regardless if you're growing or, you know, right sizing. We found that generally speaking, a lot of stuff doesn't end up getting moved.
Yeah, and I don't want you to pay me twice to move it and then get rid of it, right? So if we can plan for that ahead of time, it's going to be a lot more cost effective for me to help you get rid of it or donate it before we move than afterwards.
Do you see anything in your world? Do you get cross paths at all with I call them the storage boxes, where they drop the box and you can
Like
move
a
the box?
pod, for
Yeah, the
example.
pods and things like that, or
Yeah, I mean, those are nice. It's just situational if you need those. We see those a lot on like renovations. If someone's getting new hardwood flooring put in, they need to get stuff moved out, but they don't want to move it to a storage unit.
but I think you said it was Conshohocken warehouse facility that can handle the storage if
Oh yeah.
there's a timing differential. And is there a duration where you typically store things there? Like you hold it a certain amount of time?
Yeah, I mean we have if it's just overnight, we typically leave it on the trucks. If it's more than a week or so, then more than one night, we move it into the warehouse. And then if it's long-term storage, we'll put it in vaults. They're like 5 by 7 by 7 containers. If it's less than a month, we typically have a staging area that we'll store it in, save some time and effort and cost. So yeah, there's no wrong answer there. It's as little or as long as you need.
Okay. And how do you stay so calm? Uh, you're a very calming. How do you stay calm? Because you're dealing with people's, personal property and their collections, and they've been in these houses and attached for so long. It seems like you have the right personality type to deal with all these situations.
It's funny you say that. We have two kinds of movers that work for us. We have guys that are just go, go, go. And then those are great for our family moves or
Okay.
young people moves because they want to just move quickly. And then we have calm, cool, and collected team members who are patient and just take their time a little bit more. And there's no wrong way about that. But those calm guys are the ones that we place on our senior moves because it can be a lot mentally, and we want to make it as calm and collected as we can. So we have both kinds of guys, and we're not going to waste time, right? We're gonna because we charge hourly, we're not here to waste time or milk the clock, but we don't want to rush you and make you feel uncomfortable either. So it's all about finding the balance.
The balance. Okay. Awesome. Well, we haven't got, I'm astounded because we have a lot of people on the call. Unless I'm missing, uh, I haven't received any questions as of yet. So either we're doing a really good job or you're going to get a lot of questions after the call. And you did say that the best way to, you gave your phone number. I'd like to just repeat it. Is that okay if I?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So the best to reach you directly was 610-357-1928.
That's my cell phone.
Okay. And then your website is just suburbansolutions.com.
Yep, I put a senior moving page on there, but suburbansolutions.com is just as good.
Now, how about your other business, your main line? Oh, there it is. Boy, you're you're really on top of this. Okay, so
Yeah, mainline junk. And it doesn't matter which number or which website you go to, our sales team crosses over. So you can call you can go to one website and get in touch with us, either team.
and on the just a follow-up question I was just thinking about because we also get involved in some houses where they're going to be, completely renovated and, sometimes the second floor gets taken away and they, add some space. Is that something you would get involved in, like the removing like the appliances and the cabinetry and all that? Is that part
Oh
of that
yeah.
world?
Yeah, we do demolition as well.
You do.
I don't tear homes down. I don't do structural walls or anything like that, but we can rip out cabinetry, flooring, drywall, paneling, all that fun stuff. That's our guys love doing that.
Okay. All right. That's awesome. Okay. So
I think
those on the
Susan has a
call,
question here.
did you see a question you said?
Susan has her hand raised, it looks like.
Oh, all right, Susan. Did I miss that? I apologize. I
I don't
might
know. I
have.
just saw it pop up. I'm not familiar with that.
Okay.
Here we go. How do we start initial downsizing? Basement, garage, or less intimidating areas like
Yeah.
knickknacks? Great question, Susan. So anything that you know you don't want is the place to start. If it's an easy decision, then make it quickly. If you're not sure yet, just wait a little bit and see. Maybe try to see if you can live without something for a little while. And if you haven't touched it for 30 days, then we that's typically a situation where you know you can probably do without it. Especially and if it's a seasonal item, if you didn't use that coat last winter, or that a pair of shoes last summer, then it's probably time to move on from it.
Thank you for getting that question. It's sometimes as the host, it's hard to keep track of all these screens at
Yeah,
the same
I've
time.
never seen that before, so
Yeah.
I'm glad to have experienced that.
And I'm also letting everyone on the call that you should definitely connect with us on all our social channels because, like this program today, as I said in the beginning, this is all being recorded. And those that couldn't make this session today, we did get some calls, Patrick, this morning of people that weren't able to make it today. This recording will be available in 2 weeks and we'll be able to forward. And you'd be shocked how many, family members and all will be listening, down the road, but they still, Patrick can call you directly on that number we showed here, right?
Great. Yeah, of course.
Okay. And then we do a whole host of other programs, but those that want to, talk, feel free to call. Is there anything else, um, that you think you could add about senior moves, Patrick? Anything that we didn't cover that you wanted to, discuss?
Just know that, we've done this a lot, and I know it might feel overwhelming for you, but we've got you covered, and you can rest easy knowing that we know what we're doing and we'll take good care of you.
That's awesome. And I'm very grateful for your time today. Um, what you're going to get those is, well, you can go to the website because we have a whole bunch of other webinars that we've previously recorded. So you're welcome to listen. And we're also going to be sending out a survey for those on the call. We're grateful for everyone's attendance today, but if there's other topics you want to cover, we've covered all kinds of things. And some of those previously recorded ones, the ones that have gotten the highest amount of listens have been things like how to save 500,000 on the sale of a primary residence. We did a deep dive, Patrick, on one of those with an
Cool.
attorney that was really well done, and
Awesome.
it saved people a lot of money, and people like that one a lot. But there's a whole bunch of different topics. You're welcome to listen to.
Awesome.
But that pretty much wraps it up today. I didn't see any other calls. I want to thank Patrick for spending Saturday with us today. Those that have questions about moving, feel free to call Suburban Solutions, or you can reach Patrick at 610-357-1928. Any
That's
other
right.
final words, Patrick, or is that
No,
wrap
I
up for
mean, that's
today?
it. Just know that we know how to best help you, and our job is to make your transition smooth and painless.
Thank you. Well, this wraps up today's Saturday session, ABCs of Senior Housing with Patrick McNichol. I'm Brett Furman. Again, enjoy your weekend and thanks for listening.
Bye bye. Thank you.